Hello and welcome to AccentOnCars. Today is gonna be one of the most exciting episodes I have ever made on this channel because we have an AMG versus an AMG, an older W211 E63 AMG versus a newer W212 E63 AMG.
Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make.
And this isn't just any regular W212 E63. This one is E63 AMG S, fully loaded, probably one of one. We're gonna talk about the options in a bit, but for now, I just want to clarify that this isn't going to be kind of like a drag race type of comparison between W211 and W212. This is mostly going to be kind of like comparison of the older generation to a newer generation to see if where Mercedes have improved things, where they maybe have made things worse. And by the end of the video, hopefully you'll have a better understanding for yourself which one is a better car for you. I have the original sticker on in my hands, and I can see that this one was optioned out pretty extensively. The original retail price was $121,000 for an E-Class. That's kind of like an S-Class zone right there. I think this was their like press color or something. And the name of this color is the Magno Elenite Gray Matte Finish, which is almost $4,000 option. And interior is a black Napa leather, carbon fiber trim. By the way, another like almost $3,000 option. You can see it's like factory carbon all around, like on the mirrors, on the bumpers, side skirt, Distronic Plus, and you name it. Pretty much it has like all the options, maybe except for ceramic brakes, but it does have this like black factory black rims. When this car came out, it caused a lot of discussions, both from Mercedes-Benz owners and fans, as well as from BMW and Audi fans. Why is that? Because Mercedes guys were like, what the heck? All-wheel drive AMG, all-wheel drive E-Class, the first ever. A lot of people were like unsure if that would mean that the AMG was not like tail happy anymore or not, which isn't the case. By the way, this car can send like up to 70% back to rear when it needs it. So as soon as people start driving and feeling it, those conversations went away. On the Audi and BMW side, a lot of like fans, Audi and BMW fans, they felt frightened because this was a serious competition for Audi RS6. In the past, because of the all-wheel drive system, Quattro Audi usually beat AMGs from 0 to 60, but when this came out, they stood no chances. And M5 did not introduce all-wheel drive until G90 anyway, so F10 didn't have any chances against this car from a standstill. W211 versus W212. Design-wise, they're so different, and yet they share some like common elements. W211 is, in my mind, has a timeless design. It has that classic Mercedes look, but it's somewhat a sleeper car. You know, it doesn't have too many kind of like AMG specific options. W212, on the other hand, had a revolutionary design, especially the facelifted version. You know, when this car came pre-facelift, it looked very different from W211. When the facelift came out, a lot of people were even confused. They thought this was a totally new generation because the changes in design were so dramatic. But the differences are not in just the design. They are a little different philosophically. W211 AMG came out with the 5.5 liter supercharged engine that was indexed as or labeled as E55. That was a true muscle car. E63 had M156, 6.2 liters, naturally aspirated. Arguably one of the best engines AMG have ever made. It was the first ever engine built from ground up by AMG engineers. It was not based on any other regular Mercedes engines. And it was much more refined than E55. With W212, after 2011, they went back, they changed the engine again, back to 5.5, but this time it had two turbos on it. So it's bi-turbo V8, producing 577 horsepower, at least in the AMG S version, and 590 pound-feet of torque, which is like 77 or 75 horsepower more than this engine. And the torque was also up. So in terms of interior design, also very different from W211. W211 had a lot of kind of like curves to it, like, you know, very smooth lines. This one has more like straight, or like edged corners and design. So very different design. And to me personally, I might be biased because I have W211. I like the design of the interior of W211 better. W211 seats are just a little bit more comfortable because they're a little softer, they're a bit more plush. Even on the door panel, it doesn't have that pillowy look to it that W211 has. The owner have added some nice additions in the bag as well. We have this like kind of monitors for the rear seats. These are not stock. The owner had it, but they look pretty good. Let's talk a little bit about the reliability and common issues. Generally, M157 is a very reliable engine, if not tuned too aggressively. The biggest issues these engines have had, especially in the earlier models, were the cam adjusters, cam position sensors. Oil would get into them and then could travel all the way up to ECU and burn them. So you want to make sure you check those sensors pretty regularly to make sure there's no oil in it. The best year for this engine is like 2014, I think, and later, because that's when they change a few things in the design. If the engine is tuned too aggressively and incorrectly, it can bend the top side of the tie rod, causing the top of the piston scratch the cylinder walls. And cylinder walls in these engines are much softer than in M156. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch Tasos's videos. So if you are in the market for one, make sure you pay attention to those three things I just named. Other than that, it's not known for any like catastrophic failures. And compared to M156 again, this engine requires, it is a little harder to DIY. Even something simple as like replacing valve covers, gaskets, isn't as straightforward as in this, because I believe there's no gasket. It's all like Mercedes, like RTV or whatever. It's a newer engine, more advanced technologically, and a little harder to work on than M156. All right, so when you get in, it's a really good place to be, guys. Like, especially this car, I always love this shifter. I don't know, so enticing. It's kind of like, say, grab me, put me in drive, and let's hit the roads. So for the modes, we have this like turn up. We can go from comfort to Sport Plus to manual to RS. So much confidence, because thanks to that four-wheel drive 4MATIC, there's minimum wheel spin. Yeah, the transmission is definitely faster, much faster than in W211. Downshifts are much firmer, crispier, and it has a rev match too. In Sport Plus, it drops one more gear by itself. I'm so used to naturally aspirated engine by now that regardless of how good the engine is, the turbocharged engine, I still feel that turbo lag. It's there. So in Sport Plus, the moment you touch the brake pedal, it automatically downshifts. It definitely feels faster than W211, and it probably is. I don't know by how much, but it definitely feels faster. With this exhaust modification that the owner has done, there's so much drama. Each time the upshifts or downshifts, there's just so much drama. Obviously, like technologically, this car has more tech. The speakers, the audio is still Harman Kardon, but it sounds better. It sounds louder because it has more powerful woofer. The steering wheel, I don't think the steering wheel like gets any heavier Maybe it gets a little more responsive when you put it in Sport Plus, but I don't think it gets any heavier. Yeah, I don't think it does, but it is quite responsive. You know, in W211 it's still a little sluggish, you know, more like comfort oriented, just like how all like older Mercedeses were. I'm gonna say the ride quality is surprisingly good for the coilovers, and because you've lowered the car, I expected this car to be much more like stiffer, but it isn't. In M156, you know, in W211, if again we compare this car to that car, the power is very linear because that car is naturally aspirated. In this one, being turbocharged, there's minimum turbo lag because all that power, all that torque is available from 1700 RPM. But you know, it's kind of like still, it's kind of like the power is either on or off. So it's a little harder to modulate the RPMs. But when you have this much power and you want to go like sideways, you don't really have to modulate RPMs that much. If you are looking for a newer car with more tech and more horsepower, more torque, then this is the way to go. But if you are looking for that old school feeling, you know, old school like nicely tuned V8 that's like super linear and very responsive, then I would stick with W211. Or you can get W212 with that engine. That's also an option. You like this car a lot, but you know that feeling of kind of like power being on and off based on whether turbos are spooling or not is very different from what I'm used to. So I think I will just like stick to my W211 for a little bit until it gets like too old for me to maintain or something, and then I'll start looking around. Otherwise, this car is like a lot of fun to drive. Hit that like button, subscribe, share the video, and I'll see you in the future episodes. Thank you for watching.